Well, we like to think we're geocachers of our word. And as promised, here's just a little extra for the patrons. Now, it's Daryl and I. Michael is having some issues, so he may or may not be with us. But hey, you know what? We've still got a little extra from episode 177 that we weren't able to finish. So, Daryl, what do you think? What big geocache plans do you have for this summer? I mean, geocaching.com. That's a tough one for me to correct. Geocaching.com posed these 6 quests for us, in declining amount of time over the summer. We talked a little bit on the show, but are you planning any other big geocaches this summer?
No, I wish I were. I was hoping to be able to make it out to the last block party. That's not looking so likely at this point.
Daryl, you found a place to stay. I'm just offering that.
Yeah, but it's time and expense, and the time is the biggest problem right now. I mean, expenses are, tight around here right now too.
And that's why we're not at GeoWoodstock this year.
Yeah, exactly. But we've got some stuff scheduled in July, and that looks like that's going to bleed over into proms, and there's some potential family health issues that might be affecting it. So this summer doesn't look like I'm going to be doing all that much, but I can dream.
You can dream. Daryl, I went to the Flight Cache Design Challenge event this weekend. And there I met with the hostess of GeoWoodstock 8 out here in Seattle.
Oh, very cool.
And I found out some things that I didn't know. I was joking with them saying, "Oh, well, you've hosted a GeoWoodstock. You know where the next one's going to be." And they looked at me and they said, "We can't tell you. We're sworn to secrecy." I said, oh, so you really do know. I was only joking. They go, "Oh yeah." I said, "So tell me, when is this decision made?" So it's typically made in January, where it will be for the following year. So in January of 2015, it was decided where it's going to be in 2016.
Well, as I understand it, that's not the final decision. They get in touch and make stuff happen, but on more than one instance, they had to go to one of the other bids because the primary one wasn't able to get the venue or something like that. Right. So I know that it has changed, and that's one of the reasons I think why they don't announce it so early. Plus, if they announce it before, you're not necessarily as likely to go to that one because maybe next year's is going to be in your backyard.
Exactly. And they use the example of Hawaii. They said it's definitely not in Hawaii.
Yeah.
They said, you may not go to this one because, I'll save my money and I'll go to Hawaii next year. And
right.
You don't want to
Alaska.
Or Alaska, right. Or, it doesn't matter where it is, but you don't want to sabotage the current one because the next one may be in a location that is more desirable.
Yeah, definitely. And I totally get that. But at the same time, it would be kind of nice to know so that you can kind of plan ahead. Mm-hmm. We don't even know for certain that it's going to be a given weekend. So it'd be nice to at least pre-announce which weekend do I need to get time off to be able to make it out there.
Well, you see, except for GeoWoodstock 8. Now, I don't know prior to that. It's always been on Memorial Day weekend, which we're coming up on right here, which may be easy to get time off of work. However, that's my anniversary. I cannot get time off of my anniversary.
Well, I thought there was more than one that they moved it to another weekend, but I could be totally wrong.
The only one I know of is 8 here in Seattle area. That was later because, May right now is a terrible time to have anything going on in this
right
Pacific Northwest.
Well, and that just happened to be the July 4th holiday fell at just the right time to make it a great 3-day weekend where people were going to most likely be off.
Right. So speaking of Geo Woodstock in Seattle. Okay, speaking of Seattle, not Geo Woodstock. One of the things I know I'm going to hit is the block party this year. And you had mentioned it is the last one. So,
and the last Geocaching International Film Fest, which, some people are making a big deal that, it's going to be the last one.
I didn't know that.
I don't know, because I have the feeling that it's going to be the last in this style where you get to go and see it.
Right.
But I would not be surprised with what I'm hearing that the Geocaching International Film Festival becomes a traveling show that goes to the various mega events. So I think it's still going to exist,
or
but
it could be,
just not as it stands.
It could do very well as a virtual event, meaning
it could.
You submit and vote online, do it all online.
Well, they tried to do that this year, and they had a number of complaints about their voting and the way that it was handled. So we'll see if they take that and create something. But I kind of got the feeling that was going to be the omen of things to come. Mm-hmm. I don't know, though. I think with the way they were talking about traveling to events with the lackeys and everything, that we're going to start seeing the International Film Fest, probably under a different name, come to your local mega events and giga events as part of the ongoing entertainment. So I would not be at all surprised to see a contest every year again, and the slate of films that's shown at each of these regional mega events.
Could very well be. That seems interesting. I like the idea of getting more lackeys out to events. That seems to, in a lot of people's eyes, validate the event. Oh, geocaching.com is sending a lackey. That means my event means something.
Well, and it gets the lackeys better connected with the communities all over the world by sending them to all of these events rather than, stuck in, Pacific Northwest. Not that, it's a bad thing to be in the Pacific Northwest.
Stuck. We choose to stay. Sorry, go ahead. I just had to say that.
Well, that was pretty much it, though. But Pacific Northwest is a great region, no doubt. And you actually got a chance to hit an event last weekend that I'm sure a number of us would be excited to go to.
Yes. So a lot, I'm surprised. I don't think a lot of people heard or understood what this all was. So last weekend, that would be May 16th, there was a flight cache design challenge at the Museum of Flight here in Seattle. The Museum of Flight is a terrific spot. I could spend a day there without even breaking a sweat. They've got things like the SR-71 Blackbird in there. They've got space capsules. They've got of course, we're at the home of Boeing. So we've got, a Boeing 707 and a Boeing 787 sitting there. We've got an early Air Force One jet that's actually a 707. So, lots of different things to go see. And the museum is huge. Well, they hosted what was the Flight Cache Design Challenge. The whole idea is the Museum of Flight wants another geocache at the museum. There's already one there.
Very cool.
I'll go a little bit into this. It is a mystery cache. And in order to solve the coordinates for it, you have to do 6 lab caches. And the lab caches are based on displays in the museum. So they may ask you how many of these flight suits were produced, what type of fuel was used in this rocket. So, you go around to the different displays, look at it, answer the questions, and then it will lead you to the final, which was very well done. It was inside the Museum of Flight. And, you walk over to it, I immediately saw it, knowing that, the experienced cashier that I am. However, it would be one of those things that you could go through the museum and never even notice it.
So this is the new one is actually in the museum then? Or this is the old one?
This is the existing one.
Okay.
They're adding a second one. So they had a whole bunch of people submit their ideas. And, it could be as elaborate as you wanted. Some people submitted that you get into a cockpit, basically kind of a trainer or a flight simulator. You turn the dials to a certain point, and that will give you the coordinates. Line up the dials to marks or whatever. I thought it would be cool is if you set the instruments to the right spot and like a cash register drawer opened and there's the cash. Wouldn't that be nice? That would be a cash register. See how I did that?
And that's such a bad pun.
Yeah. Other things were submitted that, by knowing the silhouettes of the airplanes, you get the coordinates for the cache. What the winning design was a mother and son. They each submitted one. The son actually submitted the know your fleet. In other words, here's a bunch of airplanes, and based on that, you get the final coordinates. But the mother's design was chosen. And what you do is you're going to go into the gift shop, ask for a paper airplane, and they're going to give you a paper airplane. And if you fold it properly, you'll get the coordinates.
Oh, that's pretty cool. It's so simple, but so cool.
Exactly. And then the coordinates will lead you outside to a metal statue with elements of aviation and paper airplanes to get the final. So it'll be available year round. And I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah, and the sad thing is, I was actually thinking like about a week or two ago, I really wanted to do a puzzle cache where you had to print out the sheet of paper and fold it origami style to get the chords. I was actually thinking a paper airplane would be the coolest way to go, but that might be a little bit boring. So I was thinking that, or maybe do the sailor's hat, because that would be kind of cool. Have the sailor's hat with the coordinates on the side. So you're wearing the geocaching hat with the slogan around the outside of some type. Maybe the cache waypoint or something, and then the coordinates up on the crown.
Nice. And it's in this case, it would be a little disappointing that the additional logging requirements were taken away, because you should have to have a picture of yourself in that hat to log the cache.
Yeah. Well, did you get any audio or anything for CNW?
Yes, I have. Okay. At the event was, of course, Jeremy Irish, the co-founder of geocaching.com, and Richard Garriott, known as Lord British. And he is quite a well-known geocacher in the geocaching community, because he has the deepest geocache, the one in the Marianas Trench at a volcano, underwater volcano, and he has the highest geocache on the International Space Station.
And don't forget, he has one of the coolest with his Britannia Manor.
Exactly. So he talked about all three of those caches. And I have that audio for Caching in the Northwest. And I also got an interview with the winning mother and son combination, which was very nice.
Excellent. So we'll look for that one tonight, and kind of do the tease for that show here. So patrons, run over to cachingnorthwest.com, right?
CachingNW.com.
CachingNW.com. And make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, but at least check out that one show, because that's Chris's other show, which is, even if you're not in the Northwest, a lot of fun to listen to.
Well, thank you. I enjoy it.
Now, I did get a note from Michael, and unfortunately, his computer problems have gotten worse, including a burning smell.
Ooh.
So that's where he disappeared to.
I don't blame him at all there for disappearing, and that's not the smell you want from a computer.
No, it's very unfortunate.
Yes. Well, Daryl, I have a couple of other geocache events and geocoin challenges I'm hitting this summer.
Okay.
I was lucky to find out about the Mount Vernon Geocoin Challenge. It's only their second annual. Get this, they're going to go out and put out 10 brand new caches. If you go out and find those 10 caches, you get a geocoin. 10 caches, we do that in an afternoon.
Well, I was just going to ask, are these like big, long hikes? Or are they complicated ones?
They don't seem to be.
Okay.
I looked at and they still have some geocoins from the previous year. So if you want to get, you can get 2 years if you go out and get the last year's coins.
That's pretty
last
nice.
Year's caches as well. There's only 100 coins. So, but so that's
kind of disappointing. If they had 100 coins last year and they still have some left over, that so few people claimed them.
This is only their second year. And to be honest, I had never heard of it. So this was news to me. So I'm going to head out there.
We'll chalk it up to bad marketing.
I think so. Or new, the word of mouth hasn't spread, and I'm trying to help with that.
Well, and I do wonder if some of it might be that you're in such a cache rich area, in the backyard of Groundspeak. Might that have actually hindered word of the series? Because other places we've heard these trails go out and they get hundreds of people. One of them, they got I think 100 and something coins, and they were gone in the first week.
Exactly.
So is this just an issue of it's an area that doesn't have cachers, maybe, which I doubt, or I think more likely
border.
Some people who are afraid of Canada aren't going to come and do it.
Exactly. If you're not into hockey, there's no way you're going to do this one. No. Meaning that.
So they're afraid of like Wet Coaster and
Land
Monkey.
Yeah. Meaning that it's, not in the center of Seattle. It's several hours north. So.
Okay, here's a question that we probably can't answer. How many of the Seattle area cachers don't actually have a motor vehicle? Are they using public transit and that kind of thing?
That, even here, the city of Seattle has an unofficial war on traffic. This is what all the radio announcers are saying. They have a war on traffic. They are actually taking away driving lanes to put in bike lanes.
Yes.
Even though less than 2% of our commuters bike. So it's making traffic terrible downtown, which, this is where, the talking heads on the radio say, see, they're trying to create the problem in order to get more bikers to justify the solution.
Yeah, I can see where that might actually be the case, but I know that Seattle is a very biker-friendly city.
Yes and no. It's quite hilly.
Yeah.
Which, is limits, the starting biking commuter. And it rains a lot. So, you've got to have the right gear and the right fitness level to be able to get to work.
Well, and I was just going to say that some of the best commuter gear comes out of guys out of operations out of Seattle. There was another one.
You thinking like REI?
Maybe it was Portland. No. There's like a Seattle Outfitter or something like that. It's the name of it that makes some really, really terrific commuting biking gear. There's another one, and then like Zoic, I think, which I love their stuff. It's not really the rain kind of gear, but it's some of the nicest stuff for commuters. They have like the button-down shirts that are, wicking and
nice.
Actually fit your cycles stuff a lot better.
That leads into my next question, Daryl. How, if you're a business professional, how can you pack, or how can you get, how can you be a bicycle commuter, or communist? And
are you implying that all cyclists go to Fremont?
Well, not all. You do know of Fremont's big bicycle fest they have once a year?
No, I didn't know about that one. I was talking
naked
about the
bicycle
statue.
ride. It's a naked bicycle ride in Fremont.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that's a patron only thing.
Yeah. I haven't gone, but you know, I keep threatening to. So if you are commuting on a bicycle and you know you need to be dressed in shirt and tie, how do you do that? Do you pack that with you?
Most people will actually pack that. They make rear racks that are actually the garment bags for dresses and for suits. So that's what most people would likely do. I in like Norway and stuff, there's a lot of people who actually commute in their suit.
And you know, once you get up to what I want to say, once you get in proper shape,
fitness level.
Fitness level, you're not going to, you know, produce the sweat that you are early on where you're going to ruin your clothes.
Right. Well, and if you're an active cyclist, the commute is a much less intense workout.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not as big a deal. But the problem isn't so much that, it's the road grime. So you really don't want to be wearing your business garments, you know, because it's just a mess, and you will chew up your nice outerwear if you try it that way. So yeah, you really probably want to pack it, but in places like Norway, where it's more common that you bike, you know, in your suit, it's also because there's far less of the motor traffic, and it's far more common and far more accepted, is what I'm told. Whether that's actually the case, who knows? It could just be, you know, us Americans with the grass is always greener stories about Europe and biking.
Well, you know, the Norwegians have to cross fjords in their bicycles to get to work. So,
well, somewhere, and I can't remember what city it is, actually has little escalators, really more than elevators, for the cyclists. When what this is, it's like a step that you just take, you know, you stay on your bike, you pull over into this lane, you put your foot down, and the step comes out underneath, and you just get pushed up this hill.
No.
Yeah, and apparently they have it in like China or somewhere now as well. But there's some European city that had this, and I saw video of it in action, and I was like, this is insane, and so it's scary cool, you know?
Japan.
What was that?
Japan. A bike escalator.
Japan just got it, yeah.
I Googled. Norway has the cyclo cable bike escalator.
Oh, okay, that might be the one that I saw the first time.
Hill.
See, when I think it was called a elevator in the first version that I looked at, you know, online. But it was definitely not an elevator. I think they just called it an elevator.
Here, let's see. Are we doing screen share? There we go. So apparently you ride up, you put your foot down on this, and it pushes you.
Yeah, that looks very much like the one that I saw.
Pushes your back wheel. Oh, no, pushes your foot.
Bicycle lift in Troendem, Norway. I think that's the one that I actually
in 2013. Saw. The first one was built in 1993. It was called the Tramp Lift. Okay, there's an E at the end of tramp. That might be trompe, but I like the whole idea of tramp. In 2013, it was upgraded and renamed to the Cyclo Cable, quickly becoming a tourist magnet.
All right. But yeah, it's one of those things I'd love to actually see it. It's a very scary concept.
They have kids on scooters and mothers with strollers.
But do you think about it, if you had something like that in San Francisco,
oh yeah,
where, you know, everyone knows it's silly, it would probably dramatically change the number of commuters.
What about up that windy street?
Yeah.
Whoa. Whoa. Up you go.
Well, and just think about how much fun that would actually be.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, getting back to geocoin challenges, Daryl.
Okay.
The weekend after the Mount Vernon one is the big geocoin challenge here in the state of Washington, and that's in the Tri-Cities.
Oh, yeah. That's the focus of last week's episode, wasn't it?
Pretty much.
Well, Catching in the Northwest episode, which everyone obviously listens to.
Well, actually, that was the week before. That was that we had.
Oh, see,
and Kid Vegas. The week before, who you know from Cash Advance.
Yes.
And we talked about it.
And I've actually met both of them.
Yes.
But
at
only
the last
together.
Geo Woodstock we went to.
Yeah, yeah. And I went caching with Kid Vegas last fall, I guess it would have been, just before one of the geocaching podcast episodes. And wish I would have had more time.
Had you seen their, not their latest, but one of their more recent social media posts where they got customized license plates?
No, I had not.
And, it's one of these things that, you see the names, it's Lookout Lisa. You don't think a thing about it unless you abbreviate it to LOL. Her license plate is LOL KV19. His license plate is KV19 LOL.
Oh, no.
I'm like, LOL.
I do not think that means what you think that means.
Look out, Lisa. That's LOL. So they got customized license plates, which I thought was really nice.
Yeah, that's fun. And I've seen a couple of cachers who have the customized license plates. It's actually much more common that I'll see that for like ham radio operators with their call sign. Exactly.
We see a lot of those around here.
Yeah, here in the state of Michigan, they actually did. I don't think they do anymore. Have a license plate with a special icon for hams.
Okay.
You have to pay extra for that, of course.
Oh, of course.
Well, that's pretty cool. Well, right now, my big caching plans are not really that big and not that far out. I've got Scott Burks and Shorty Knits coming to town this weekend. They're going to crash at my place. And, man, Jesse has...
And that probably will actually happen.
Yeah, there's no rail trail here, so we're probably safe.
Okay.
But
he's actually driven down a rail trail to find a cache. Why hike it when you can drive it?
Exactly. Well, he had a Mini. It fits.
It's still a vehicle on a trail.
Well, bicycle is a vehicle.
Well, that's true. Not motorized.
Oh, picky.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, Segways. How about a Segway?
I don't have a problem with the Segway.
Okay. Well, maybe we need to get him Segways.
Ooh, a Segui.
Someone, I can't remember who it was it Honda, has been showing off a single wheel Segway, essentially.
Yes, a kind of a motorized unicycle.
Yeah. I'm thinking that would be a cool caching vehicle. Yeah. And at least then you get to sit.
Well, and then your hands are free to hold your Sharpie pen. Oh, okay. Your coffee and your GPS at the same time.
Oh, well, that's in Seattle.
I can do. Okay. Maybe an adult. Well, I don't know. Would that be drinking and driving if it was an adult beverage?
It probably would be, actually. We'll have to ask Scott when we get him one. But I think we need
intoxication on a bike.
Well, I think we need a GoFundMe campaign to get Scott Burks one of those.
I think Scott just needs to buy it on his own. Why stress the public?
Because he's not going to get it on his own.
I'm amazed the GoFundMe emails I've been getting recently.
See, I don't get those much.
It's just started of, hey, I need a car. And I look at the person and I go, I know them. They don't need money to go buy a car. They just need to manage their finances properly. I'm not going to go support your financial irresponsibility by giving you money to go buy a car. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's probably not politically correct either. But in any case.
Did I say that out loud?
You did. So, Jesse's come up with this list of, okay, here's all the Jasmer ones. Here's a couple of fizzy ones. Here's these, it's like, wow, there's probably 100+ miles between all of these caches, the farthest most caches that she wants to hit. And, granted, they're, some of them I've done and they're, well worth doing, but how do you plan something like this where it's like we have all of these caches that we want to hit all over the city, hundreds of miles of driving at least, and you don't necessarily know how much walking is involved because, especially these Jasmers, these are old caches that are out in the woods or, you have to hike somewhere to get to them. It's not like a park and grab. So how do you plan for this kind of stuff if you don't really know the area? And this is one of the things that's really, really tough to plan for. And we've talked about some of the planning before, but nothing really of this kind of level.
Well, first of all, Scott and Shorty Knits are motivated enough that I don't think, that's going to stop them from getting these.
Well, nor do park hours, I fear.
Yeah. Or, pedestrian only trails. That's how come they can get so many, is they're willing to drive. They're all park and grabs, essentially. It doesn't matter how far you're supposed to hike. They're all park and grabs to Scott. So a lot of it, the way I would do it, let me put it this way, because I'm not going to pretend I know how Scott is thinking. The way I would do it.
This is Jesse, by the way. Scott, I think Scott's much more a fly by the seat of his pants kind of guy, but Jesse, she is at this point the more aggressive cache hunter. She's got all of these challenges and everything that she wants to hit, so she's going after all of these various types of caches and with specific needs to meet those challenges.
Does she feel that the challenge caches are going away and she's going to try to get them all in this year? I'm just curious.
Possibly, but I think this goes back even further than that, because I kind of remember her very anxious to hit a couple of them in Ohio last year when we met up with her at the Midwest Geo Bash.
Okay.
Which is probably going to be the only mega event I get to this year.
Is it after July 13th?
Yes, it is.
Oh, then it counts.
It is August.
Isn't that a shame? Let's see. Does this event count? I don't know if I'll go to it then. I want to go to one that counts. Yeah, my event's 3 days before it counts. Nobody's coming.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but it's any event. It doesn't have to be a mega.
No, it doesn't have to be a mega. But what if you hosted an event July 10th? And, it's 3 days before it counts in geocaching.com Summer Quest. People are like, I don't want to go to this one. I want to go to the one that counts.
Okay, whatever you do not go to MidwestGeoBash.com.
Huh. Interesting. Hey, speaking about how I would plan this, I would spend a lot of time. I would look at each geocache I want to go to, see if there's parking coordinates, read some logs of, hey, it was a 3-hour hike. And then, start looking at it that way. I mean, it takes a lot of work to complete a challenge. You have to know what caches you're looking for, what requirements, either terrain and difficulty or, map pages, if it's a Delorum challenge or what have you, to be able to find which ones qualify to complete the challenge. So, and then, plan that out, map it out and say, I'm going to go from here to here to here. Do you use a tool like Microsoft Streets and Trips, which I don't even know if is available anymore?
I don't think it is. I think they, delisted that product.
Or so how do you plan a multiple waypoint trip? Is it Google Maps now?
Well, what I ended up doing is taking all of her caches that she fed me, put them into a list on a bookmark list on geocaching.com, shared it with them so they had it as well. And from there, I actually just loaded into Geosphere and took a look at them on the map. But you could actually create the pocket query and map the pocket query and just use geocaching.com and just looked at where these were to get a feel for where things ended up. And then my plan is tomorrow, if I have any free time, start looking at those and saying, okay, if I were to go from here to here, how can I make this happen? And just kind of plan out a rough route. But a lot of the times when I'm doing a very time-sensitive run like that, I just build it out in Google Docs spreadsheet, or Google Sheets spreadsheet, rather, with time allot for X number of hours or minutes at each of these caches, get the estimated driving times. And it takes a lot of work to plan something out like that. And there's an awful lot of caches. There's like 33 caches on that list. Right. So that's not something I want to even try. No, I mean, there's got to be a piece of software that says, you know, like Microsoft Streets and Trips. I just keep bringing that one up because that's the one I'm familiar with. That says, you know, going from point A to point B, we go this way. C is this way. D, you know, and instead of E, F is closer, so we're going to go there, and then we'll come back and, you know, to plan the trip for you with the minimum mileage and maximum return. Right, but the problem is, if you're planning something like that, you might say, okay, let's skip these caches because it's just not going to be viable. You know, we just don't have the time before these parks close. So I don't think you can even use some automated tool, because you really have to sit down and figure out, okay, if we skip these caches, because we're definitely not going to have time, or not likely to have the time, how is that going to change our route, and does it make sense to do these? Yeah. So I don't know. Let's see. I don't know that there's any one right answer for this, and I think it does change drastically, because we've got, in this case, several different challenges that she's looking to address, not just one. So it could be that you go, okay, these we don't necessarily need to, and she has a couple of like 1-4 caches for her fizzy grid. She only needs to hit one of those. She doesn't need the 2 or 3, but she has the 2 or 3 in there, so that, you know, if they're better to hit, then she can. You know, it's that kind of stuff that really makes this a challenge to plan. And, you know, she has that as a backup cache, but do you necessarily need to plan for that? Well, I quickly Googled route planning software. First one is Google Maps. Second one I hadn't heard of, roadtrippers.com. Oh, I know road. Yeah, but that's more for points of interest kind of thing. It's tourist kind of stuff, if I remember. Yeah, but you should be able to put in your own coordinates and have it, you know, figure it out. And of course, maybe Yahoo and MapQuest. So yeah.